Hello everyone, and welcome to this week's Patch Notes, a show where we cover the biggest gaming news from the past week in a nice bit-sized package. My name is Drew, and as always, it's great to see you guys. This episode, we are covering the news from the week of September 15th, 2017. Today's episode is going to be a bit short because not a whole lot happened this past week, but also because today is my birthday. I moved my schedule around a little bit so I could record and edit this episode for you guys in a timely manner without having to work too much on my birthday. With that said though, I will be pretty much streaming all day on Friday on Twitch, so if you're watching this on September 15th, go ahead and check out our Twitch page. Okay, enough with the self-promotion. Let's go ahead and get into the news for the week.
This would be the perfect opportunity right here.
Oh, get him!
Oh, yes!
Early access mega hit PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds has finally hit the 1 million mark. 1 million concurrent players, that is. That's right, PUBG has risen far beyond the two previously most played games on Steam, Dota 2 and CSGO, by more than 300,000 players. Even if you take into account that a lot of those concurrent players are probably bots just farming crates, that's still a pretty impressive number. PUBG has consistently been the most played game across the world for weeks now, and it only seems like it's going to keep growing. And honestly, I can totally understand why. PUBG is incredibly easy for new players to grasp, but also incredibly difficult to master. I was mostly impressed with the overall speed of the game. I've put a ton of hours in DayZ, but my biggest complaint of DayZ and games like that is how slow the general process is. It takes a lot of time to get geared up and find good loot in those games. But in PUBG, finding usable or even good gear at the very beginning of the game is not uncommon, and a competent player can be fully geared up in minutes within a game starting. This means more time is spent in the game actually exploring the map or combating other players, rather than looking at inventory menus or just kind of looking around for loot. While right now it's not showing any signs of slowing down, I'm worried that PUBG's meteoric rise in popularity means that it's going to have just as quick of a fall from grace later on. With that said, PUBG's foundation is laid deep into its fanbase, so I think it's going to be a long time before we see this sort of thing topple. But once it starts to sway, it may come crumbling down very quickly, and more metaphors for buildings falling down. In other news, Kevin Conroy, aka the voice of Batman from the animated TV series, various films, and most notably the Batman Arkham games, has stated in a QA session that he doesn't think Rocksteady is working on a game in the future of the franchise. As far as he knows, there isn't another game in the works. He said this in the Q&A session.
You know, I can't believe that they're not going to do another one, but they're not. Really not. Isn't that amazing? They made literally billions of dollars on those games, but no, there's no plan to do another one.
So yeah, according to the most known voice of Batman, it looks like Rocksteady and Warner Brothers aren't working on another Batman game. But honestly, I would take this with a grain of salt. Current voice actors' strike notwithstanding, Conroy did also touch on the fact that these games are huge sellers. They've made them billions of dollars, so I don't really find it very likely that Warner Brothers would pass up the chance to keep milking this cow for all it's worth. With all that said, I do personally hope that they kind of lay the Arkham series to bed. I would much rather Rocksteady use their talents on some new IP or at least another license from the DC franchise. Rocksteady has definitely proven that they know how to adapt certain materials, so hopefully whatever they're working on next will be great, and it's something that we can definitely look forward to. As far as we know though, nothing new has been announced for the Arkham series since the PSVR title that released last year. So we feel like it's safe to say that the series is going to lay low for a little while. Speaking of a franchise that's laying low, Shadowrun has suddenly been thrust back into the spotlight thanks to a developer who has stated that Microsoft is interested in bringing the franchise back in a big way. The last time we saw a Microsoft-backed Shadowrun game was in 2007, where the game took on the form of a multiplayer-focused shooter. This game is actually a recent example of devs trying out a cross-play functionality in a first-person shooter between PC players and console players. It actually had a cross-play functionality thing with Xbox 360 players and PC players. And right now it still stands as an example of why that doesn't work. While this game had interesting mechanics and a magic system in the game, it seems like this new franchise would be doing something completely different. Dan Connery, a developer at Dragonpunk, announced on Twitter that a AAA game set in the Shadowrun Universe was being proposed to Microsoft. This proposal had been going up for years, but this is the first time that Microsoft was actually seriously interested in bringing this franchise back to life. Dan Connery posted this announcement on Twitter to try to get more awareness to the public and try to see how what interested people actually were. Now, we don't know much at this point, but Dan Connery was interviewed by Robin Eck at thegg.com. I'd never really heard of it. And what Dan said is that what they're trying to do is take some of these single-player aspects from the old Mass Effect games and meld them together with the kind of pseudo-MMO aspects of the current Destiny games. Ultimately, they want to create a huge multiplayer experience. This honestly gets me really excited, but it isn't too much to go off of, even though I do think it's a really interesting concept. And we all know Microsoft definitely needs a huge IP right now to get it out of the slog that it's put itself into. So I sincerely hope and honestly believe that Microsoft will take up this offer.
Slay hordes of demons with devastating guns in single player and crush your friends in online multiplayer when Doom tears onto Nintendo Switch this holiday.
And for our final story today, in a rather surprising announcement, last year's Doom and this year's Wolfenstein II are actually going to be coming out for the Nintendo Switch. Doom will see a holiday 2017 release, whereas Wolfenstein II will see a release sometime next year. id Tech 6, the engine that these games run on, continues to surprise by how well optimized it is. I mean, the Switch has a considerable lack of power. I mean, that's not really a knock against it. I mean, it's a friggin' handheld, so it's really surprising that they were able to get these games to run on it, and I think it's more a testament to how good id Tech 6 is rather than how powerful the Switch is. I think that just shows how well optimized this engine really is. But yeah, these are two fantastic games. I actually wonder if the first Wolfenstein is going to eventually come out for the Switch. I don't understand why they don't just release that in Doom right now and then they just release Wolfenstein 2 later, but hey, Doom is still a great game, and if I owned a Switch right now, if I owned only a Switch right now, I really wouldn't be that upset. There's some great games on the Switch right now. And I know this isn't the biggest news right now, but I just think it's really cool how committed Bethesda is to the Switch. I know there's a lot of controversy around Bethesda right now, but I think this at least means that we will see day-and-date releases on the Switch that come out with other consoles at the same time. We'll have to keep an eye on it. Maybe Bethesda will try to release all of their future projects at the same time on all three consoles. Anyway, that wraps up this week's news. Once again, I'm sorry this week is a little short, scheduling conflict and all that stuff, and hopefully we just have more to cover this time next week. If you like this video, go ahead and leave a like below, and be sure to check out our other content. There's going to be an end card that's going to come up in a few seconds. I just finished a playthrough on Twitch, which I uploaded to YouTube, and oh, it's unedited glory, of my favorite game ever, Half-Life, so you guys should definitely check that out. I'm also doing the expansions right now on Twitch. I'm going to upload those as well. Anyway, also don't forget to check the description below for all of our social media pages and our Twitch page and all that stuff, and also sources for all the stuff in this video. I leave those in the description as well. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time. Bye.